Yo, what's going on, guys? So today I got a little creative and I have decided to make my own 53-man roster projection for the Carolina Panthers. And I'm going to give you a little bit of insight on each projected players for each position. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So Carolina Panthers, big decisions to come at kicker and backup QB, which we already know. We dismissed Graham Gano and we kept Joey Sly. So NFL veterans are officially reporting, to training camp, which will include an initial COVID test and waiting to enter the football facility. The build up to the season has officially begun, which I'm pumped. I hope y'all are too. For the Carolina Panthers, the dramatic changes won't only be related to the pandemic. No matter how the team's roster shakes out this year, its similarities to the 2019 squad will be limited. Competition will exist at every position, as we know, in some way, shape, or form. With players not scheduled to take part in their first padded practice until August 17th, there will still be some unknowns on how this team will look. It's also important to keep in mind, guys, that practice squads will be expanded to only 16 players. So those who do not make the final 53-man roster will have a better chance of sticking around. With all that in mind, put together an initial look at the Panthers' 53-man roster might look like in September based on the current players on the team. So let's get into it. First position's quarterback. I have Teddy Bridgewater, PJ Walker, and Will Grier. There isn't much to argue here. Bridgewater, we all know, signed this offseason to be the franchise starter with the dismissal of Cam Newton. Then we got Walker, who played under Matt Rule at Temple, was arguably the XFL's best player before the league suspended operations. And while Grier has struggled in his 2 games that he has played, which was last season as a rookie, the former third rounder is still someone that the Panthers will hold on to. The more interesting development to watch this year, I think, will be who wins the backup quarterback position between Walker and Grier. I think it's going to be Walker. I like Walker, but a lot of people think he's trash. I don't think a lot of people give him some credit, and I think he's got a little bit of a advantage over Grier, just the fact that he's played in the XFL. I think Walker's going to take up that backup position. All right, so now running backs. All right, so one of my videos I talked about already, does Carolina Panthers have one of the best running back duos? And I got a little bit of heck for saying that Mike Davis and Christian McCaffrey together are one of the best duos in the league. And I've kind of changed my mind a little bit, and because of my research that I did. So, my 4 running backs now for this roster are Christian McCaffrey, Reggie Bonifon, Alex Arma, and Rodney Smith. This group could end up going in all sorts of direction after the league's highest paid running back, of course. Bonifon seems like a natural choice to make the roster because based off his versatility in the passing game. While offense coordinator Joe Brady's offense isn't going to lend itself to a traditional fullback, Arma has been a productive special teams player since his rookie year. The other spot seems most likely to come between Jordan Scarlett and Smith, a rookie from Minnesota. It could go either way, but Smith has plenty of potential after totaling 5,441 career all-purpose yards in college, and that's most in Gophers history. Then we get into Mike Davis, is also currently on the roster, but the Panthers seem more likely to go with the younger guys, and that way they can save $3 million by moving on from Davis. Next position is wide receiver. Okay, we got DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson, Keith Kirkwood, Seth Roberts, and Farrah Cooper. Moore, Samuel, Anderson, and Cooper are almost automatic locks. Cooper was a Pro Bowl return specialist in 2018 and will likely start there for the Panthers. For the final 2 spots, it could come down to Kirkwood, Roberts, and rookie Omar Bayless. Bridgewater's familiarity playing with Kirkwood in New Orleans and knowledge of Joe Brady's offense likely gives him an edge. And Roberts is a 6-year veteran who has had a mixed career so far. Bayless, as a rookie, though, had 93 catches, 1,653 yards, and 7 touchdowns at Arkansas State last year. Could be one to watch, but for now, I think Roberts makes the cut. All right, so now we go into tight end. So we got Ian Thomas, Chris Manshurts, and Cam Sutton. I've already done a little bit of insight on tight end in another video, and now I'm going to give you a little bit of different direction here. So obviously we got Thomas. Thomas most likely is going to be the #1 spot. With Greg Olsen now in Seattle, he gets an opportunity to prove himself. But the Panthers lost some depth here when we released Seth Devolve with a non-football injury designation. They could add to the position before the start of the season, but keep an eye on rookie Cam Sutton. Carolina expressed a lot of interest in this guy. He was a former wide receiver during the pre-draft process, so he moved on over to tight end. So we'll see what he brings. But I like Cam Sutton. You know, his versatility could help us out. All right, so now we get into the offensive line. So we've got tackle Russell Okung, guard John Miller, center Matt Paradis, guard Michael Schofield, tackle Taylor Moton, offensive line Dennis Daly, tackle Greg Little, offensive lineman Chris Reed, offensive lineman Tyler Larson, and offensive lineman Samuel Tecklenburg. That's a list. The guard position is still not completely figured out. We all know that. The Panthers brought in multiple players to compete for the 2 spots. Veterans Miller and Schofield, they'll probably have the big competition in training camp. Reed, I think, makes the cut. His name has come up multiple times over the course of the offseason from the Panthers coaches. Most of the undrafted free agents they signed this offseason overall won't make the roster. I give the edge to Tecklenburg, who Rule personally called to see if he would end his retirement from football after playing at Baylor and join the team. Sounds like someone they wanted to have around to me. And obviously Matt Rule was all about him. So we'll see. All right, now another big list. We got the defensive line. So we got Brian Burns, Stephen Weatherly, Kewan Short, Derek Brown, Yetter Gross Matos. I swear I don't know if I'm even pronouncing his name right. Bravion Roy, Marquise Haynes, Effie Boda, Christian Miller, Zach Kerr. Guys, please forgive me if I'm like messing these names up, because some of these guys I cannot pronounce it, and I try. The Panthers made sure to address the defensive line after a lot of these departures that we had this offseason. Brown, Gross Matos, who the Panthers obviously picked in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft, they look good enough to start day 1. The biggest question marks are Haynes and Miller, who were linebackers in the Panthers 3-4 defense last year, but in Phil Snow's 4-3 defense, those 2 players will primarily play defensive end. Both are young players with potential and a lot of versatility, which Rule acknowledged right off the bat. It was a tough pick between Kerr and Chris Smith for the roster spot, but I think the Panthers need an interior lineman here more than another defensive end. So, next position, linebacker. So we got Tahir Whitehead, Shaq Thompson, Andre Smith, Jermaine Carter, Jordan Kunatsky, that's fun to say, Sam Franklin. With all the defensive areas the Panthers addressed in this year's draft, linebacker was not one of them. Overall, they will go with more of the veteran players probably, but it seems like they at least have one of the 5 undrafted players they brought in will make the roster most likely. An impressive group was brought in overall. This is another area that could go a number of ways. For now, the edge I think goes to Franklin, who played at Temple under Rule and has the benefit of familiarity. So obviously Rule has gone after all these guys and these undrafted free agents that played at Temple, and he just knows them very well, and I like the familiarity. It makes me kind of feel a little bit comfortable with some of these guys. All right, so now we're at corners. We obviously know who our corners are: Dante Jackson, Eli Apple, Troy Pride, and Corn Elder. What a first name, Corn. When it comes to the defensive backs, there are some obvious locks. They found a veteran they were looking for in Apple to go alongside Jackson and Pride. Elder makes the cut here to help a nickel potential due to the Panthers' lack of depth at corner overall. But safety Justin Burris could help at nickel as well. So now we're in the safety position. So we have Trey Boston, Jeremy Chin, Kenny Robinson Jr., and Justin Burris. All four of these safeties seem to be locks. Boston started for the Panthers last season. Chin and Robinson were both drafted for the Panthers, as we know, for a reason. And Burris had the best season of his career for the Cleveland Browns last year, notching 2 interceptions and 7 passing deflections. Burris and Chin are also expected line up in different spots, with Snow even referencing using Chin as a linebacker this offseason, which is interesting. But Chin's one of those guys who kind of can just play anywhere, so I won't be surprised if we see Chin at linebacker. And then we got the specialist. Of course, we got kicker Joey Sly, long snapper JJ Jansen, and then punter Joseph Charlton. Choosing between Sly and Graham Gano, returning from missing all of last season due to a knee injury, is not easy feat. Sly is certainly not coming off a perfect rookie season. He made only 78% of his field goals and missed 4 extra point attempts. But if the two perform relatively equally throughout camp, it makes more sense to go with Sly. Gano has been with the Panthers since 2012. They would save $3.75 million by cutting him. Perhaps a trade could be an option if a kicker needed team emerges. It would not be a surprise to see the Panthers go with Gano, but Sly would be a cheaper, younger option if he becomes well in camp. And then, as we all know, we went with Joey Sly. After Michael Flaherty's season-ending ACL tear, the former South Carolina punter has the opportunity to take over the starting job, although it would be a surprise if the Panthers elect to bring in some competition for him. So guys, that is my 53-man roster projection. Comment down below. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you think there's some guys we might sign. Tell me there's some guys you think that might get cut. Give me that like. Click that subscribe button. And also, guys, just a little announcement. I'd love to do a live chat with y'all. So if y'all are interested in doing that with me and talk about some Carolina Panther football, please comment and let me know, and then I'll set up a time and schedule it, and then I will let y'all know when I'm going to do it. All right? So, Panther Nation and all my Pantherologists, keep pounding and stay safe.